Kenya as well. Now, with me in the studio are two, I should say, compatriot Kenyans, or I should say nationalist Kenyans who really love their country and really want the best for their country. The first one is Juliet Makapila. I think I got your name right. She's a community change maker, educator, transformation leaders training, international consultant, social impactor, social scientist, model host presenter, popularly known as, of course, as Africa Wonder Woman, as you can see from that. Then the next one is Mr. Ernest Gikuma. He's an experienced, successful mindset and leadership coach, public speaker, author, educator, motivational speaker, life success coach in industries, and of course some other things that he does, which he will probably explain as we go along. Thank you both for coming to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
I want to start with the elections in Kenya. The Kiambu by-election, which took place on the 15th of July this year. And of course, the leading parties didn't all do very well. And someone else from out of the blue, eventually, for someone from the new United Democratic Alliance, Njuguna Wajiku, won. Is this a dress rehearsal for what is to come in the next 22 months or so in Kenya? Is someone else, the people are trying to tell Uhuru Kenyatta what is to be expected in the next general election. Because if he has lost this by-election, it's like, hey, we are telling you, it's we who do, who mean a lot. It's we who vote, and this is how we're going to vote. So either he starts changing his policies now, or the elections will go the other way. Is that the message across?
Janet, I'll let you go.
Well, actually, I think in Kenya we had a very interesting by-election for both places, and I think that the mood there is seeing that across party, like when we think about what has just happened, Oda is celebrating on one end and Jubilee is celebrating on the other end. So I think this sets off the exciting situation within both sides. I think it brings up the mood, and I think this brings a lot of thinking between all the political parties. And I think Ruto is quite, His Excellency, the Vice President, is absolutely excited for bringing, having a good by-election. I can just imagine on the other side, Moses Kuria and the Jubilee Party also being very happy. So I think it's exciting time for Kenya when it comes to elections. And when we see them cross-partying. And I think the question is, how does Raila feel?
Raila and then Gideon Moi as well. These children of the former leaders who are also waiting in the wings to join in. Do you think this is a dress rehearsal? It's a warning. It's a warning to Uhuru. Say, look, we might go in a different direction if you don't do things right.
I think personally it's a very interesting time. And we seem to be in a place where the crossroads of leadership are shifting very quickly. You have a more informed voter groups. You have very aggressive young people who are shaking the government. You have very well-educated leaders. And I think, is it a dress rehearsal? Is it a warning shot? I think it's probably a bit too early.
It's too early.
I think it's way too early. Knowing how Kenyan politics work, it's way too early to call the shots. It's definitely victory for the UDP. Should they be celebrating? Well, I guess it's a win, and every win should be celebrated. Should Jubilee be shaken? Well, I guess they need to definitely look into their manifestos and their strategy, because by the time you realize, anything will change.
Now, the thing is, again, with the leadership, this is something that I've been reading about. I don't know how true it is, but obviously so many Kenyans, those within the ranks, the leadership ranks, are saying, look, what's the vice president?
Yes, Dr. Ruto.
Dr. Ruto is not really, there are so many people who don't really like him. And someone called Madaka from another party, Madvane, I think he's from another party. They are trying to woo him to make an alliance with the Uhuru so that he becomes the next president instead of Ruto. I don't know how true that is, but because they are saying if he takes over, I mean, it's really going to be a disaster because he has already shown what kind of person he is on the events that he has been through so far. Is there a possibility there could be a change within the next one, before the election start and we get a new vice president?
I don't think so.
Yeah?
I think that our Kenyan constitution is quite clear what they like. And I think that you saw what was happening within the BBI. So I think in terms of vice president, personally, and I think that's a personal view, we are going to stick to till the end, because Kenyans love peace, you see. Kenyans are people who enjoy to keep to what, I think August is what everyone is waiting, whether the election will be held on the due date, which is usually 8th of August. So, or whether that month will perhaps just be the month, because we've had COVID-19, so I also think that elections might perhaps be delayed, we don't know. But in terms of your questions, would the vice president be told that you're no longer the vice president,
because
and
you see,
an election coming out? I think that would be over the top.
The thing is that because of the disputes he has with Uhuru Kenyatta, and the constitution gives the president the powers to sack the vice president or any minister in government, because the vice president is, the position of a vice president is an appointee by the president.
By the president.
Yeah. So the president has the power to do that.
I think in this case you're probably looking, yes, constitutionally, he has the right. But when you go back and realize that actually, without Ruto, without Dr. Ruto, Uhuru would not have been elected. So he was a running mate. And that's what makes the matters different. They are partners. They are joined to the hip, as it were.
And they're still partners.
And they're still partners.
Even right now, they're still partners, because the order is underneath the coalition of Jubilee, and we cannot try and imagine there is not. They might be having internal dispute within their own political party, and I think that's what forms African politics.
And I think also there could be a caveat here. Could it be all a play?
Because you see, one thing that I've seen, the ANC, which is Amani National Congress, and of course it's led by Musalia Mudavadi. Now, that party of recently, when you look at opinion polls, has been gaining ground. Now, if that party joins forces with Moi's son or any of the other forces, the chances are, with what has been happening with Uhuru, that could be a general worry for Uhuru as well. I said, look, if the others join, if I don't pull the ANC with me, because the powers are coming, unless he persuades the others to come, and the others will come with a condition, if we are coming in, one of our men is going to be here. You see my point? That is where my main worry is. That's where my main worry is.
I think the way Kenyans form alliances, they tend to wait until
the last minute.
Until the last minute. That's just my personal view. But I think in terms of, because if you notice so far, I don't know if anyone has given their manifesto, but actually nobody has really come out clear to really give their manifesto and decide that this is the real big person. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see who the key players are electing or nominating as their vice presidents. Because I think the vice president is the person that is really going to be also calling the shots.
Of course.
Because by you declaring that, you know, my vice president is going to be so and so. So all the political all the political leaders, have their own sort of like special special places in Kenya, and I think this next year is going to be very, very key, because Kenya is going through a very rough time right now.
At the moment,
let me say it is going through transitional. We've got the BBI issues, we've got the COVID-19 issues, we've got the Stop Brexit matters that are impacting the economy. We are seeing political leaders being moved out from one political, others are changing allegiance, others are beginning to, corruption is something that the current president is trying to fight. Has he succeeded? That's another question.
He promised to do that when he came to power, and I think to a certain extent, the arrest of over 18 people, that included of course, Muhammad Abdallah, the chairman of the National Commission and the Land Commission, and also the chairman of the director, the managing director, Atlas Kiruki of Kenya Railways. These two and the 3.4 billion corruption scandal that at least Uhuru Kenyatta can get credit that he's tried to do that from the top, but at the bottom he hasn't really scratched. He's only scratching surfaces, according from what I hear. There's still a lot he has to achieve.
Yes, in agreement with my sister.
Yeah,
I think when it comes to Kenyan politics, it's always an interesting thing.
Okay.
Because it goes through phases of morphing.
Okay.
If you go back all the way to the 80s, during President Moi's time, God rest his soul in peace. Mudavadi was still a leader in those key times. He was calling some shots in his community. So he is a revered community leader in his place. And definitely you can't ignore him.
Yeah, of course not. Of course
because not. he has pretty much a big following behind him. But I think what we're seeing differently this time is a lot more people are more open to good leadership.
Okay.
Because the whole conversation is going from, okay, it's enough of this tribal stuff, because we end up benefiting the same people. We want someone else who has a different manifesto, a different vision. Without a vision, the people, the people can't stress strength. So as she said, without the manifestos,
BPI has changed everything, because what happened is of course the man went to court. And he's even appealing against it in court. But this would involve, by the way, BPI means it's changing the constitution so that it gives him more, the leaders more mandate of how to stay long in power and to implement the youth projects that he had in mind. But then it was rejected. He lost the case in the High Court and he's appealing against it. What do Kenyans think about constitution change? Because I speak as a Ugandan. We've seen what happened in Uganda. When they changed the constitution, we still have Museveni 35 years later down the line, and you could fall in the same position as we go along. What do you ordinary Kenyans think about this?
I think there's quite, I want to go half-half. I mean, I want to go half-half because on one hand, you can see that there is people who want the constitutional change, and others, I think, other people say no, because of your obvious reason. You cannot be changing the constitution to suit your needs. How would you feel that you're changing? I mean, it's been an interesting journey, and again, I come back to the issue of corruption. There's quite a lot of stuff or conversation where Kenyans really want something done about this. And I think the issue of BBI is to build those bridges, and I think that Honorable Raila brought the handshake, and when the handshake then happens and then you're trying to build bridges, because you saw Kenya really went down the pan. We nearly had, how do we describe it? Really? It was terrible what Kenya was experiencing instability. So, building bridges is something that I always personally, again, pursue, because in a peaceful country, you flourish. There is wealth. When there is no peaceful country in any country, what happens to that economy? It definitely goes down. So building bridges, for me, it is needed in our country, but how it's being done, or the process in which it is being done, sets a question. And I think that is where the problems are, because...
in other words, it's the packaging which was wrong. the presentation, it's the packaging.
People
Someone giving you food, but if he's giving you the food from the floor, you won't eat it. But he has to bring it on a plate, then you can think about eating it. So the presentation they have at the moment is not the best presentation they are putting forward. On paper, it looks all right.
Yes,
but in presentation, because another thing you remember, it's got to money. Money is another major issue. Because I remember watching him being asked about it. How much money is the government going? Taxpayers are going to put a lot of money into this, and it was redoing the constitution, going around the country again for another year or so. That will mean the people who are going around the country have to be paid, and that's a couple of millions of dollars to go through that, which would have gone into hospitals and other areas of the, that will help the government, the economy. And on top of that, at the moment, the Kenyan economy is not doing very well because of the COVID-19. So this is the wrong time to do it.
I think on top of, well, I will not stand on with my sister on this one. I will not go 50-50 because there's a particular thing term you could use, and say it's kifunga macho. Right. So I'm covering your eyes with something that look good, but my intention really is up to you to discover. If you catch me too soon, the game is over. But if I can keep you guessing, I'll finish my goal. So if at all, because see, the biggest challenge we have in Kenya, among other African countries, actually in the whole world, is leadership. There is lack of good leadership.
Correct.
And leadership then is, if you have a good leader, there is good governance. So you could have 2-3 people doing very well, but then one other person just keeps steering the ship. It's good for politics, but it's not good for the nation.
Listen, that comes with training. It comes with training. Good leadership comes with training. How do you train a good leader?
There you go. That's a very good question. You train a good leader by modeling. Modeling. You have to be the leader you want your children to be. You want your grandchildren to be. You want the village persons to be. And that's to the base of it. If that's lacking, then all we'll be doing is running around doing bad politics.
Right. That comes with of course, that's your area of expatriatism. But the biggest problem that we have, the whole of Africa, is that we don't have models. Secondly, we don't have training schools that train that. The way the policies were done in the 60s and the early 50s when we're doing our education structure, our structures are still the same as the British left them. Now, here, you can go to Sandhurst or you can go to any of these major universities and you're trained how to be a leader. But in Africa, you go to university, get your degree, then you're out there,
Back on the streets.
And
if you have a good mouth, you become a politician. And that's it. And that's one of the biggest problems. To sort of see whether I can respond to that statement. How do you train a good leader? A father, be a father. Provide. Protect. A mother, be a mother to your children. Provide. Cover your husband. Again, it starts from the family. If the family is losing its ground, I can guarantee you, as a nation, we've lost it. If the family is not united, we've lost it. So you can't be a good leader if inequality is not tackled. If we come back then to BBI, what is BBI presented? Building
Bridges Initiative.
Where are these bridges being built? In the high sky of politics, or in the rural areas of Kenya? If you're going to build bridges in the high levels of politics, the people on the ground are the one who voted. They are still going to fight. So your bridges will come down. So I guess until that local person, until that village person who's going to be queuing to cast their vote feels justified by the initial promise that President Uhuru and his vice president brought forth, what bridges are we building? We are going to masquerade it, cover it up, and then eventually you're going to go back to the same place where we started.
Well, the structure looks good when it comes to that. How about if we say, because everything goes with training. Now, the simple question we've been discussing here before she came along, it's the culture versus constitution. Then we go back to culture versus the church. These are areas where these building bridges would be working very, very well, if at all it happens. But now we are faced with an issue that Moi left behind and tackled. That is to do with the constitution and culture. And I don't know, I need your opinion on this, because the current president is going to leave without having tackled that issue. The culture, for example, the issue of it's called female FGM, yes. And others are saying it's culture. And the Constitution, Article 11.1 of the Kenyan Constitution said culture and Constitution, culture has to go hand in hand with the laws of the land. It has to go hand in hand. It means you can't touch it. Now, people who are practicing it are saying, look, this is our culture, and the Constitution gives us a right to go and have our children, circumcised. But the government is saying, no, you can't do that. Now, then there is the issue of marriage as well, which has been discussed for quite. Cultures are allowing men to marry as many women as they can, if they can support that, even though they're not Muslim. And that is in several cultures, which is allowed under the culture. Now, Christianity says it's one wife. So you're looking at these issues, and the two presidents who, when it started, have not tackled it. Mm-hmm. Then the issue of human rights as well. Yes. Because now the human rights people are saying, if you're going to take these women for circumcision, that is against their human rights. Now the human rights law is coming in, and it's there in the Kenyan Constitution. What do you, as Kenyans, think how should this whole thing be tackled?
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is. It is a big one.
First of all, ignorance is a disease.
Yeah, it is.
Ignorance is a disease.
Yeah.
And there is no way any responsible person could allow a young girl to have FGM. Any responsible person. So let me start off by saying that personally, I condemn issues of FGM. And in fact, a lot of effort, we make a lot of efforts to pursue the education of girls. And if you look at issues of cultures, and I know of only one place where some chiefs have gone to court in Kenya and argued exactly what you're saying. I can't remember whether it was in Narok or where they were arguing that they needed to take this matter to court.
It's been existing in the Kenyan courts for quite some time. Yes. Those areas near the Somali border.
Yeah. But the information as it is right now in Kenya, it is actually illegal to actually have any FGM with any young persons.
Yeah, it is illegal. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It is illegal. Yeah. But then several cultural groups have gone into the government, there's a case going on
there's one case,
that has been overrun.
Yeah.
And they are looking at the Constitution, and they're saying, look, that's why it is Constitution versus the culture. Because if you allow the cultures to go on,
But I think I want to challenge that in your program, because it hasn't really been ruled out. And in fact, what was being questioned was whether that amendment should be made in the Constitution.
The point I'm trying to put
forward. The amendment was to define and whether that was misleading. But in terms of educating those kind of chiefs, there's a lot of work that is going on there, Stephen. But I think the question is in Sierra Leone. I think that is where maybe we saw this kind of conversations when I can't remember whether it was the former or the wife of the president, where they were bringing this open conversation about culture, and I followed that conversation, and I could see how women were very upset, and it is the communication that was being changed, whereby Kenyans were actually saying it is good for the wife of the former president, I can't remember whether it was the former president, but they were saying it is good to be led because these issues then create awareness. So Kenyans were actually for, but the Sierra Leone were like, no, it's not really what should be happening.
Could we say it's educational? Because most of the areas, because it's education. In Sudan, the whole structure started with education. They fought it using education, by educating the parents, by educating and so on. So everything started from there. And now they're winning the war, nearly 60 to 70%. It's not happening. Is it maybe the problem in Kenya?
I would love to see personally as a solution. I was speaking to one of the chiefs and a police officer, thanks to that police admin, Kenyan. It was a rainy day, as usual. And he told me that the reason why people want to practice or let their children have FGM is because of girls getting married. And this officer actually educated myself to see the reason why, the culture aspect. So for me, it's more about education, yes, but education to who? And I feel the education should be going to the boys, because if the boys don't want to marry because the girl is whatever. So actually we're no longer looking at, we're looking at the issue of FGM, but actually we're looking at bridal marriage issues, which is impacting this whole thing. So if civics education can start from school, from in the whole of Africa, even issues of honor-based marriages, again, it is the issues of men. So men play a key role in our society to really change, to really nurture a woman. So for me, we should be looking after the male
everything
child.
goes around the money. The Sudanese put in a lot of money. The South Sudanese put in money. But now the Kenyans are not willing to put in money, because everything comes down to money. Because when it comes to education, you're going to have people. It's like when we had AIDS in Uganda. The biggest way the government fought AIDS was to make sure that people were going from villages to villages. There were teachers, people who had been educated about what AIDS was all about.
I think before the money,
it went down completely because the government at the time invested heavily into it.
And Uganda actually brought a lot of good education to Kenya as well, because when Uganda did campaign, they even, I can't remember whether they partnered with a few hospitals in Kisumu. So I was following.
Because I used to go around with one of those guys driving around, broadcasting in the villages, and then we would sit down and they would go to certain schools, and I would watch as these guys are teaching. You know, this is what is happening. I'm saying this is what, and all this condom business. I mean, there was a lot in drinking areas. People used to. So there was a huge campaign, and within a year or two, everything had completely gone down.
One of the things that you're probably looking there is your question is very strategic, and it's quite challenging to tackle when you say constitution versus culture. Because culture is not a written thing, by the way. It is assumed laws and rules and behaviors over lengthy periods of time. A constitution, on the other side,
is a written one.
It's a written one. People get together, they converse and say, okay, we agree to this, this and that. In culture-wise, if you try and trace where FGM started, you will not find it. You will not find no scientific base. You will not find. So we have no idea. So when you're going to try and tackle something that is so rooted and ingrained within culture, you are going to a very fundamental space of individuals. So how then do you transform that? Education is the key. But who is being educated is the father and the mother. Because it's the parents who pass on the culture to the children. You are encultured. For example, if someone met you and spoke to you in a language you don't understand, and then they tell you that's your mother, that's your language you should have learned, who would you blame? Your mom. Or your dad.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're what you're saying, but if it's massively done, going out there, because when you look at us in Africa, there isn't too much social media there that something is going to go out in social media, and almost everybody, if it's here, they just need to send texts and messages on TV, and almost each household has a TV in it, so it's easier to do it here. But when you're looking at the village level, you're looking at areas of the village where even people don't even have radios. So the only option that you have is to say, hey, this thing is here. This is how you can do it. And that's why even now they're blaming Museveni and all the other leaders. I said, look, you can't simply lock down the country without proper explanation of what is going on. Give us the guidelines. Give us this. Educate us on what's going on, so that at the end of the day, people will take care of COVID themselves. Because
I think that one of the things with culture is this. You can try and deal with it on a surface level by giving people education. Okay? But you have not given them a good enough reason culturally for them to stop doing it.
All right.
So yes, we can do a massive campaign, but if the community is unwilling, unyielding, if the mother and the fathers are unyielding, we could end up with it's like degree. You finish your degree, now you're back on the street. So what now?
How about
so it's much deeper than that.
Dealing with the community leaders. If you get the community leaders,
yes,
and you start with community leaders, it goes down the line.
You have a much higher chance, but they also have to be yielding. They have to start seeing the education side of it, whether it be biological, because these children are going to school. So they need to start understanding actually how this affects people from a biological standpoint. The issues it affects the body, how the treatments are done. Unless it really becomes personal, we are fighting something that we can't. Because culture builds over years.
I know. It's been built over years. In some other countries, Zimbabwe now, and I think Zambia and so on, it's now being written down so that the cultures, certain things can shift. And we said, if we are going to put these, we get people who are, South Africa has it, the Zulus and so on. These cultural laws are now written down. When they are written down, you see how you can mitigate them together with the constitutional laws to make sure that if something is done culturally, at least you can do it. And I think Ghana was also trying to bring something about that. The Igbos have also got their written cultural laws that is written in their books, although it has not constitutionally appeared within the Nigerian setting.
But that brings up understanding.
I think the writing for me is, we always say it's not written, but I actually want to say we have written documents in our own ways. And I want to say that because my great-grandfather or my grandfather told me we always refer to what we laid down. So when you're told what we've laid down, it means they have some point of reference. So this idea where people think that Africans did not have some kind of records, I love to challenge that. I think the idea is we haven't looked into our historians because our historians have not been given good opportunity of telling their stories. Now, and that is, if you look at let's say the history of Africa, for example, we are not, the children of Africa need to be telling their stories. So for me, when people say that we haven't got our stories, we have got our stories, it's only that we haven't put it out there. Now the question is why. I would love to say white privilege has played a major role and social inequality has become what it is. In terms of culture, I would love to embrace with my culture. I love Africa to enjoy its culture. I think where we perhaps should not confuse is those harmful practices, let me put it that way. So the harmful practices and the boundaries behind that. Again, the issue of the FGM is going down. Let's not forget that. That's a positive thing, and a lot of effort has gone in to educate the women. Now, I would love for us to put in money into the male child, because by putting in the male money into the male child, and really and truly on this occasion, let Africa find the solution, because whenever we're looking at West to also give a solution, the confusion can happen. But let's come back to leadership, because I'm very much interested with leadership in Africa. And the key thing is, politicians, have they failed Africa? And I think that's a big thing that we really need to look at. Because,
I want to address, when it comes to that, I've always been saying, when you have, there's a saying in one of the colleges in Uganda, that if you educate a woman, you'll have educated a nation.
A whole village, exactly.
Now, and it comes down to, I've seen this here, that if I have the statistic, the Kenyan parliament has almost 350 members of MPs, but there are only 47 women MPs. Uganda has 154 women MPs out of 529. Now, UK has 222 MPs out of 500 and something. Now, I'm looking at Rwanda has nearly 61%. There are more women MPs in Rwanda. and Liberia. And but the Russian in Kenya shows there are 8 women members of parliament, so 8 women ministers in Kenya. This shows that is something which is not appropriate right in Kenya. How do you think the next president of Kenya would put this right? Because it still comes down to education.
It comes down to education.
Yeah. If you put
gender balance, oh my goodness,
gender balance.
Gender balance.
You have fewer women in Kenya. I think you have more women in Kenya than
yes.
Yeah.
No, gender balance. Yes, so gender balance is something that is around the whole world. Needs to be improved, really. And I always say that, you know, because we have to have a 50-50 campaign for obvious reason. And as you said, when you educate a woman, of course, you educate the whole nation.
I think there's too much credit going in there, but I think leadership, it starts at home. If the father and the mother stand and allow and identify the giftings in the children, either male or female, then that should almost naturally happen. However, you go from a family and you have a community. If it is predominantly male leaders, then a female will be seen as challenging authority. Again, we come back to education. So I think, but when you look at issues of merit, what has this woman done? Because again, culture that is unwritten in a way tends to work with generalized rules. And then when you zoom in, you realize actually there is more business women in Kenya than men. They are better in economics than men. Because for us, we like punting. So again, challenge. Maybe we should actually encourage. I think the next president, the current politicians, and especially for women, they should now encourage more women to stand up, and encourage more women to vote for women.
More women to vote for women.
And you can imagine what happened, eh? You know, they were fighting the...
but that would be, if you say you encourage more women to vote for women, and they're women who are, you know, then you'll have a gender battle.
There you go.
Which nobody really wants.
It's not about a battle. It's already a battle now. But we're not talking about it. So should we allow this to happen and let the good leaders surface? Because it's not about popularity here. No, it's about responsibility. It's about leadership. It's about governance. So can there be good women? And I know there's quite a number of my friends who are really good women, and they're family women and they're business women. They're very good leaders. But maybe they don't feel too much campaigning because of exactly what you said. You know, no woman wants to be seen as the one championing the women movement and so on. But I think it's a matter of balance. If you start from family, there's safety.
I believe it's if you give them a chance. Trust me.
If you give them a chance,
they will. The leaders haven't given them the chance.
But the bad ones should definitely not be given a chance.
We're coming towards the end of the program, and I want to look at the future of Kenyans, of the next president after Uhuru. When you look at, we have looked at those people, but then there is something that is not right in the sense that at the moment, the Kenyan politics could change at any time. Who do you really think? Is Ruto, is everybody going to say Ruto because he's been a vice president? Because now we've seen Kenyans having vice presidents, other than Uhuru Kenyatta. Vice presidents, 3 vice presidents have been presidents in Kenya. And then there's a genuine worry of the boys, the jobs for the former sons of heads of state. This whole thing is disturbing us. How do you see this? And obviously, there's another thing which is always affecting Kenyan politics, the investors in Kenya, the big multinational companies, the World Bank and so on. They look at Kenya and they have a bigger say in the Kenyan elections. I didn't know this until I was reading about it in the Times, and they said, look, their voices, the English voice here and the American voices, because of the investments that they have in Kenya, they have a bigger voice of who is going to be the next president of Kenya.
Julia, do you want to?
Well, what I really want is a good leader. Let me put it that way. I'm not going to suggest who I really want to see as the president. But one thing I want to say is a leader that is able to solve unemployment, a leader that is able to tackle corruption, a leader that is able to improve the economy of Kenya, a leader that is really looking into the issues, the real mwananchi of Kenya, a leader that is improving our good healthcare systems, a leader that is able to fight crime and provide good security, safe environment to Kenyans, and a leader that can be able to build our youths and understand what our youths want right now, emphasize on good education systems, and support the elderly, persons with disability. Then I'm looking for that leader that will come out with a great manifesto that really embraces the rights, the civil rights of the normal Kenyan. But at the moment, do we have that? And I beg to differ. So I'm not going to be putting my bid right now to anyone.
Who would you vote for?
Oh yes, and a leader that is actually going to give the rights to diasporians to vote. Let it be for the first time.
Who has those qualities?
That's why I'm saying you asked us a question.
But do you see anybody with those qualities?
At the moment, I have a hint for myself if I was to be asked, but let it be a little secret for me, and I will leave it that.
Why don't you go and
one step forward? Because but on behalf of
president of Kenya,
yes, but I want to see those manifestos now. So I challenge every leader party political leader that is coming up. I mean, I'm not really bothered with all these coalitions because they all have their own individual. They all have their own individual's identity. And I think that Kenyans sometimes forget that. Just because they're in coalition doesn't mean that they don't have their identity. I think in terms of what we would like to see as Kenyans, let it be a leader that is able to give us Kenyans something that we're proud of.
Wow, that's to come to conclusion with this one, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one. It's a very good question. But I want to bring something that probably we have overlooked throughout. We have, on one side we have Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the current president, and on the other side we have DP Ruto. There is someone we are not seeing in between. Both of them were coached and trained by the late President Moi. Now that is a whole big, again, goes back down to leadership and training. So who then is the next Kenyan leader? Well, you would want to see someone who has been a servant leader. So if I was to ask you this question, and possibly people will rise up, I don't think I saw Gideon Moi anywhere in service. So if we were to say, because a good leader knows the way, goes the way, and then shows the way. So if I have not walked the way, if I have not walked the way, how can I take you to a place? This is no longer time for inheriting leadership. I don't think your bank balance should dictate. Now you also mentioned the idea of foreign investors. I would beg to differ. Investors just want one thing, just good leadership. They're not interested in tribal lines. They're not interested in their investment. Yes, because as an investor, what I want to know is, if I put money in your country, will it be safe to start with? Because the number one rule of business is never lose any money. But if I'm going to put my money in, and then all of a sudden a guy that I didn't know shows up and says, I'm the president now, I'm like, oh, hang on a second, wait, give me 2 days, let me pull my money out. Until you sort yourself out. So we're seeing good leadership. And a leader, if there is a leader today who is good, they will have a vision that they started talking about for years. They will have served. They will have proven, not invincible, but dedicated. So the leader who is already giving a vision to the Kenyans for their next 5-10 years, then when you start looking at those manifestos, well, I get the picture just raises up, because good leadership is, you can't gamble with it.
Listen, I've seen this in Uganda. They come up with the best manifestos. They come up with the best voting lines. They come up with the best, and I've seen it somewhere else as well. They come up with all that. When Kiruba took over in Zambia, he had probably the best team after Kenneth Kaunda. But when he came into office, and what happened afterwards? It's a big shame. So the structure sometimes the person you minimize may actually make a very good leader. Because Because even Museveni, they minimized him when he was fighting the war. And those who were in power say, look, this man, he will never reach anywhere. But he has surprised everything, and he was succeeding in the war and all that.
And if you're succeeding in the war, then you have someone who knows the way and is walking the way.
Yeah, he did. The only problem maybe that has come up is that along the way, there were few things happened. And of course, things didn't go well. Even with Uhuru Kenyatta, things were going very well. And, they went a different way. And I believe he fought a good fight. He has fought a good fight. He has fought a good fight. Yeah.
He has a legacy to protect.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, I remember one of the key things of how good of a leader you are is who takes over after you.
Exactly.
Again, it's both handover and a future vision.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated question because there's so many variables that are at play. You have healthcare, you have education, you have security, you have COVID. There's so many variables today than probably ever before. There's the internet. There's the internet security. You have small. You have terrorism. So there's a lot that leaders need to contend with. But I guess at the grassroots is, if you want to.
And for the first time, by the way, if I tell you, there's a Kenyan-born Englishman who is saying he's going to contest for the elections in Kenya as well. He hasn't come forward yet, but when I'm reading the Times and I realized that he's been there in one of the Rift Valley areas farming and so on, and he believes he can, and actually he has the support of the community where he has been. He was born in Kenya, raised in Kenya, came here for studies, went back to Kenya. His family is all in Kenya, but whether Kenya will allow a white man to rule it.
That's going to be a different one. Definitely, there's a good interest in the mix.
We're waiting to see what Mr. Smith is going to do when he comes on. So I was told. I just want to thank both of you for coming here and talk about Kenya. I know we could have this conversation on for the whole next 2-3 hours, and we still, but it is good to learn that at least you have the passion for the country, and the interest is there, and everything is there, and I do believe that something's going to be better, because we've always looked at Kenya from East Africa and say, wajamaa wanafanya mzuri, wajamaa, oh, by the way, that's Swahili. These people are doing very well. We want to be like them. That's what I was trying to say in Swahili. Until the next time when you have another edition of Africa Speaks, thank you very much for watching, and may God bless you.
Thank you.
Enjoy some fabulous rewards. Get a cool £10 reward when you receive £100 or more from the UK. Tell your friends and family in the UK to send money to your mobile money wallet or bank account using Express Pay and get an extra £10. Terms and conditions apply. Enjoy some fabulous rewards. Get a cool £10 reward when you receive £100 or more from the UK. Tell your friends and family in the UK to send money to your mobile money wallet or bank account using Express Pay and get an extra £10. Terms and conditions apply.